it can be written on the board. So you can write your feedback on the board, or can from face-to-face, one-to-one. It may provide guidance on behavior aspects. It can be on behavior, not just on the learning process. Encourage child learners to contribute more. And it's very important that you encourage your students to practice and do more, even when you know that they are shy. So this feedback help your students to do more work. It may involve demonstration of learners performing or re-performing. When they something they do well in front of class. For written work, it's usually written. So when you do a written activity, you give a written feedback. In all of this context, it's important to be constructive and focus on just on what needs to be improved, but on what has been done well. Okay. Now, who gives feedback? First, learners. Yes, Dr. Amani?
Yes, I think that feedback is given by learners and by teachers too, also by parents to teachers. Okay,
yes.
And they give feedback about what they are going to tell the teachers to do again and again, and try to ask them to clarify these points to their learners. Okay, and learners may give feedback about what they understand, what they get from the lesson. Okay.
Yes, Dr. Amani, thank you so much. You helped me a lot. So, feedback for learners to each other, learners to themselves. Okay. So, you can let some good students help their students, so learners to each other. Learners themselves when you ask him to guide them to just have a look on his work. Learners, teachers, when you ask your students to help you. Teachers to learner, when you give feedback to your students. There are clear implications for learner training in the first three options, as learner may not understand the process of thinking about their own language at first. So here's the point of feedback is very important when you find that the students may not understand the purpose of the activity of the learning, of the language learning at first. And in some cases may be more interested in marks. Some students are more important or more want to work on marks. One option for self-reflection or peer feedback is to ask learners to complete STEM sentences such as I am, we are good at, our group worked well when, I need, we need to work on harder on. An option for the teacher to get feedback from learners to ask them to write down or say one thing they have learned in a lesson or three things they have learned in course book unit. Here the teacher asked his students to give him feedback on what he had done through the work. The feedback will have to be balanced against the amount of time allocated to English in the timetable. So here is the feedback. It's very important for all the process of learning participants, the teacher, the learners, the parents, as Dr. Amani said, because it helps us to answer the three questions. Where am I going? How am I going? Where to next? So when you give the learners the feedback, where I'm going, and help them to know how am I going and where to next, so you did your job. You want to have feedback from your learners to know that if you did your job well or not, and from the parents to make sure about that. And of course, through learning and from feedback, you know your students' needs and give them what they need through feedback. Question number 5, how can teachers do their best to make sure his feedback is effective? Okay, the purpose of feedback is to help the learner to improve their performance next time. So The most important purpose of the feedback is improvement. We give feedback and challenge and encourage our students to get their best, to make sure that you will do better. So we give them feedback for improving their performance. Feedback which is specific, which provides targets to aim at for next, help at learners to do this. So when you give a feedback, you must make sure and think of the activity you had given to them and what will you do next. If a teacher writes a grade or a comment such as good on a learner's homework, this is certainly feedback. So when you give them good, very good, excellent, it's a very, very important thing to do. This certainly feedback similar if a teacher says to a learner who answers a question, no, wrong. This also feedback. However, nicer kind of feedback is very helpful to make the learner, and it doesn't tell them what they are doing well or what they need to improve. When the students tell you, answer a question and you said, no, it's wrong. He didn't know what he did wrong. And you didn't help him. So you must be positive feedback. Okay? More effective feedback would contain more specific information. More specific feedback on written work would be good handwriting and good spelling. You answered each question carefully. More information feedback on the spoken word would be try again. Do you mean go or went when he made a mistake? That will help him more. Now, we are going to have a look on some statements that done or said in classes and would like to say is effective or no. Okay. Number one, why do you keep making the same mistakes? I think this one is ineffective feedback. We shouldn't use it. Too many mistakes. Of course, it's ineffective. Close but not quite right. Do you mean he or she? It's a good one. You contributed lots of good ideas. Thank you. You spoke very clearly. Perhaps just think about checking the pronunciation of the days of the week. Not good enough. You made so many mistakes. I am giving you extra homework. Good, but you need to work on your punctuation. See me and we can talk about how to do that. I like it the way you give your own examples. This was difficult task and you did it well. Not to standard, do this again, please. Lazy, try harder. Is it, sorry, you work it very well in your groups. Your listening is much better. To help more, you can try listening exercises on this website. Yes, an excellent answer. You should know this by now. Wake up, have you been paying attention? You are on the right track. Can anyone help? You spoke too quickly, your words are merging, and I had difficulty following you. Consider showing down and thinking about the pronunciation of every word. You used a lot of good language, just be careful with the intonation. Okay, so these are some statements, and of course you will find that some is effective and some effective. So I'd like you to go back with me to the first slide, the first one, and I answered this one in number 2. is it effective? Number 2. Can anyone help me which statement is considered an effective feedback, a good feedback? Dear participants, please.
I think number 2, you spoke very clearly.
Yes.
Perhaps just I think about checking the pronunciation of the days of the week, because it's giving a full clarification, or he clarified which point needs to be modified and how.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Amani. Thank you so much, of course. So here, this one is the most effective one. Okay, next one, next slide. Is it effective 3? Dear participants? Okay, I think that number 2 and number 3 here is very effective. That in the second one, number 2, you need to work on your punctuation, CME. That means that you told him about his mistakes and you're going to help him in this point. And number 3, you praised him about his work. Next one is effective 4. Number 1 was the best one because that you told him that it was a difficult task and he tried harder and do it well. So you praised him about what he did. Okay, next one. Okay, I think the 3 of them is very good and we should use some of them. You work it very well in your groups. Your listening is much better. To help more, can your listening, try listening exercise on the website. An excellent answer. Number 6. You are on the right track. Can anyone help when you found something difficult and you would like one of his friends to help him? Number 7. You spoke too quickly. Your words are merging at the first. Of course, it's not. The last one is the best. You used lots of good language. Now let's move to written feedback. I brought to you 3 feedback teacher about a writing activity, and I'd like to ask you which one is the best. What do you think of one by one? Okay. Here is the first one. Teachers A response on a feedback on writing. I'd like to have a look for 1 minute. Then we will discuss it together. Okay, what do you think about this teacher's feedback? Do you think it's good or bad? Encouraging or discouraging? For me, I think it's not good feedback. The feedback on writing 1, discouraging, it highlights every error and gives no praise, even though the message is completely comprehensible. Okay, the teachers give a negative sign to the students. Making mistakes is a necessary feature for learning. We must always tell our students that the learning process is for learning.
Hello?
Exam. Yes. Yes, miss.
Okay, Mrs. Nagwa Mustafa.
Yes, Miss Nashwa.
Okay, Nagwa Mustafa. I have raised my hand, but
sorry, because I just sharing my screen.
No. Okay, I think he focused on the mistakes only. He didn't praise the right things the student had done.
Yes.
Okay, so he should give him praise him for good things and give him feedback for bad things.
Of course.
This for the written.
Yes.
Okay, many thanks.
Thank you so much. course, I completely agree with you, Ms. Nagwa. You get the point that he must praise him for good points he did. Of course, the message, we can understand the message despite the mistakes, but we understood it. So we must give him praise. And we must all know that the mistakes is a very important features through learning. Without mistakes, we can learn. We cannot learn. So this feedback was very bad one, and we don't know to do it at our class. The teacher also asked to check too many things at the bottom, and how should the learner check them if the teacher has given all the correction already? He just gave him the correction and asked him to check how he could do that. You can ask him to check and let him try to do self-correction first and then give him the feedback. Okay, let's have a look on teacher's peer response. Okay, what do you think?
Yes, Mr. Khalid.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed.
Yeah, I think the feedback here is a little bit vague. It's not clear. So he says better than last time, but be careful with your grammar. Okay, which grammar? What rule exactly is the problem? So and the question mark here isn't clear also. So what does it mean? Question mark. I think instead of this, he could use the correction code, a correction code instead of the question mark.
Yes.
So,
thank you, Mr. Ahmed.
And better than last time. Better than last time. Which things are better? He didn't mention it. So in all, I think it's not clear.
Excellent. You get the point, Mr. Ahmed. Here is the keyword. Thank you so much. Here is the keyword I look for. The feedback here is not clear. As you can see right now, is not clear. You didn't give him feedback, but better in what? What should I check? What should I do? How can I improve this? So this, when you give feedback to your students, you must be clear and specific. What he did well, what is better, and what will he do, and what can he check it and where. So you must guide him. Here is in this feedback, the teacher didn't say anything. Just better and check. What is better and what to check. He didn't tell the students what to do. Okay. And when he told him, be careful with your grammar, which grammar should I be careful with and how? He didn't highlighted many grammar mistakes. So the learner won't know where they are. He don't know where is he going, and he won't know how he is going. So he wouldn't know where to go next. Now, here is teacher C response, number 3. I'd like you to look at this with the code correction he gave to his students. Okay. Okay, what do you think of this feedback?
Yes, Mr. Khalid?
Yes, Mr. Ahmed?
Yes, I think this is better than the other two.
Yes.
Here, the feedback is clearer because he uses the correction code, so the symbols are clear, and he gives example of these mistakes. So I think here the student can use these examples and codes to work on the mistakes and try to correct them.
Yes, Mr. Ahmed. Thank you so much. Any other
You're welcome.
comment? Okay. As Mr. Ahmed said, here the feedback is better from the other two because he gave them, number one, he marked the mistakes. Number two, he gave him a code. What is wrong in this mistake? Why I marked this point? Number three, he gave him an example about how to correct it. And he told his students that he understood the message. And this was a very good point when he said, glad to hear your mom's better. I look forward to receiving your homework tomorrow. That means that I understood what you have written despite your mistakes. So I get the point and the praise that you're doing well. And it's a very good point. So he praised his students for his work and asked him to correct himself. In this feedback, the teacher matched the three questions we mentioned before. When he mentioned the mistakes, he said, where is his students? So you will make wrong in this point. How I am going to fix it? He gave him the code and the examples. Where to next, that he helped him that when he write next time, he will be better. Okay. And here is the, sorry. Here is a comment of the feedback of the teacher, much clearer and will aid learners' learning. The teacher highlighted 3 types of error only, tense, spelling mistakes, and wrong words. We don't know why the teacher has chosen them, but it could be because these are careless mistakes on the part of the learner. The teacher ignored other errors. The teacher responded to the message at the bottom as the intended reader, which is motivational for the learner. As I said, when he responded to the message, he motivated his students. Now, before we go to why effective feedback is important, I'd like to show you another video about effective feedback.
Feedback is a powerful way to achieve improvement.
Is the voice clear for everyone?
Yes, it's clear for me.
Okay. Thank you.
In teaching and learning. It is an integral part of every teacher's practice and, when used effectively, can improve student learning by as much as 8 months. As teachers and school leaders, it's essential to understand what evidence-based feedback is if we're to unlock the greatest possible benefits for our students. So, what does the research tell us about feedback in teaching? Feedback is an ongoing process of goal setting, gathering evidence about student learning, and providing instruction that makes clear the next actions to improve performance. Feedback can be given by the teacher, peers, or the student themselves. 2 evidence-based models for feedback have been developed by Hattie and Timperley and Black and William. Both models propose 3 important questions for both the student and teacher to consider. Where is the learner going? Students and teachers need to be clear about the learning goals and what success looks like. Goals need to be appropriately challenging so the students can succeed and grow. Where is the learner right now? Evidence is gathered about the student's knowledge, skills, and performance relative to the learning goals and tasks. How does the learner get there? This involves clarifying the steps the student needs to take to achieve the learning goals. If needed, the teacher adapts or changes the teaching and learning activities to meet the student's needs. Feedback can be directly related to the learning task, which is useful. However, feedback about the processes underlying the task or about how students self-regulate their learning is more powerful. So, what are the benefits of effective feedback? Research indicates that effective feedback can increase student effort and outcomes, lead to more effective learning strategies, and improve student self-regulation. The benefits for teachers are also significant. Effective feedback practices provide evidence about student learning related to learning goals and the curriculum. This helps teachers understand the impact of their teaching and, if needed, where to adapt strategies to better meet the needs of their students. It's vital that educators work collaboratively. School leaders can support teachers by prioritising feedback and implementing a whole school approach, providing access to resources and opportunities for professional learning and collaboration. Teachers can develop their feedback practices by communicating clear learning goals, trialling activities that provide evidence of student learning, planning for task, process, and self-regulated feedback, checking that students understand and act on the feedback provided, and working with colleagues to develop and refine feedback practices. Feedback is evidence-based and inexpensive to implement. It offers a powerful approach to enriching teacher practice and significantly enhancing student growth. For resources that will help you improve your feedback practices, visit aitsl.edu.au.
Okay, let's go back. Okay. So through the video, we know how we should give effective feedback and what effective feedback help us through learning. Now let's think about these statements. Learners learn best when they receive informative, specific feedback about what they need to do to improve. What do you think? Do you agree with that statement? I think we should agree with this part because that we help them to improve, and this is the main purpose of feedback. Number two, effective feedback is important for weaker learners and help lowers the number of learners who fail. Of course, it is. Because that through effective learning, we help lower students to work hard and give more power to their work. Number three, learners improve more if the teacher gives them grades and not comments. What do you think of it?
Yes, Mr. Khaled.
Mr. Ahmed?
Yes. I don't think so. Yes, because okay, how will they improve when they get grades? So grades are numbers. So instead of grades, they need to receive comments, because comments will tell them that they did something very well and something else needs to change. So I don't agree with this statement.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. I completely agree with you. This statement is completely wrong. Because especially us English teachers, through working, we must tell our students that we learn for learning and for getting information, not for the exam. And if we tell our students that we are going to give them language or specific information for the exam, he will study it for the exam and completely forget it after the exam. So we do learning for life, not for the exam. So grades do not help in feedback and not help in the process of learning. Number four, learners like getting comments written clearly in pencil, not in red pen. I think that our students are fear of the red pen, and we also feared the fit while we were students. So try not to use it a lot. Number 5, seeing to weaker learners who cannot do the work well done. You work it very well today is good for them. What do you think?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Khalid. This is not useful, because if they did something wrong and you tell them this is very good, so they will will be fossilized and they will continue making errors.
Excellent, Mr. Ahmed. We called it
Can
empty
we?
praise.
Okay.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
Miss Nago.
Yes, Miss Nagwa.
Okay, we can begin with this sentence, then clarify the mistakes for him. First, praise him and give him self-confidence. After that, I give him what he has done wrong. Yeah, I think this sentence is not enough. I can begin with it, but it is not enough.
Yeah, he's in this sentence, the students didn't do anything. You praised them for nothing.
Can I add something, please?
Of
I
course.
can praise him for, okay.
Yes, can I?
Okay, Ms. Nagwa, go ahead, then we'll back to Mr. Ms. Nagwa?
Okay, I can
Yes,
praise him for being
Okay, go
well today. You are well today.
Yes.
You are good today. Okay.
But he didn't do
After that,
anything.
Yes, Mr. Khalid, I think Ms. Nagwa means to praise the student for something.
Yes, that I want to hear from here. Yes.
Yes, like praising him for his hard working, his
Yes.
Yes, but
Can I add something, please?
for trying at least.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay.
Ms. Nagwa, he tried, so you will praise him for trying, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay,
But
Mister, go ahead.
but it is not enough. I can't. It can't be enough. I can complete saying what's wrong.
Of course. Yes. Thank you so much.
Can I add something,
Mr.
please?
Yes, Mister, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes.
Go
Yes.
ahead.
My name is Nasir. I'm sorry I'm late because I was outside. Okay. In
No
this point,
problem for us.
Nasir Shahat from Mansoura. Okay. In this point, we
Welcome,
can say.
Mr. Nas.
Okay. In this point, we can say good, but. Okay. Okay. We don't can say
Yes.
that is wrong. We can say yes, good, but, and then we can give comment. We can give them right thing. Hey, what should he do? Something like that. Okay. But we cannot say very well done, well done. No, we can say good, but. Okay. After that, you can say but. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Nath. Thank you. Thank you so much.
yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
Mr. Khalid, Mr. Khalid, this is Ms. Nagwa and Mr. Nasser. I think they were revolving around the sandwich technique in giving feedback.
Yes.
To try with
Yes,
something
sir.
good and end up with something good and in between the constructive feedback.
Yes, Mr. Ahmed. You get the
Okay.
point. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, I completely agree with you all, and I'm going to begin with Mr. Ahmed said that I can't just tell him, well done, or you worked well today for nothing. This is called empty praise and didn't help anything when I praised him for nothing. But Ms. Nagwa said I can find something he did, like he tried to do something, so I must praise him for trying, then help him with the area to work on. What points he did wrong to work on. That's very good. So I should tell him that I praise you for something you did well. Not just praising, not empty praise as I said. So I praise him for something he did well, and I helped him with the points he want to work on, and then back was praising again. This, as Mr. Ahmed said, feedback sandwich. Strategy feedback sandwich, good feedback, constructive feedback, and good feedback again. Okay, number 6, feedback from learners to the teacher is also very important for teaching and learning. Of course, it's true, we completely agree with it, because we all, teacher, need to know our students understand or not what we had told them to do. Now, this is a diagram of effective feedback. It causes demotivation, damage confidence, creates frustration, creates a negative feeling towards English, and it will slow or stop progress. Or the next one, the effective feedback, it supports confidence, supports motivation, creates interest, creates a positive feeling towards English, helps progress. Positive and effective feedback guides improvement, facilitates learning, helps developing confidence, can help develop autonomy. Praise makes learners feel good about learning, encourage learners to try hard. Okay. Now let's focus about this question to how can I manage my feedback? So when you do a feedback, you must think about these 5 questions. What did you focus your feedback on? So when you give feedback, you must focus on what? Behavior, accuracy, fluency, grammar, writing, spelling, reading. Number 2, how was feedback given to the whole class, verbal, written, and word? Who give feedback? You, learners to learners, learners to you, self-feedback. Was feedback general or specific? Was it informative? Did learners have an opportunity to act on the feedback and improve? These 5 questions, you must think of them carefully before giving your own feedback. Now let's have some feedback strategies. Okay, and we think together, is it useful or not? Number 1, give time to improve. You give learners time in class to act on feedback, comments, and improve their work. So when you give a feedback, you give them time to improve. Okay. Number 2, use peer feedback. You here ask your learners to check each other's work.